Every once in a while in life, if you're lucky and paying attention, you can witness in the night sky a rare event, a magnificent shooting star. When you see it, you know it instantly, and you never forget it. Brilliant, exceptional, rare. I've only seen a few in my life, but they all have left me feeling the same way, in admiration and inspired. Born in Columbus, Georgia in the early 1940s and later moving to Atlanta, Steve Selig was part of a family that was paramount in the progress of the city. With roots in Atlanta dating back to the late 1800s, Steve Selig's grandparents had established themselves as successful members of the community. The couple would have two children, Dorothy and Simon Jr. The Seligs ran in the same circles as another prominent Atlanta family, the Missells, who had the same passion for creating a world-class city. In fact, Ben Missell, a real estate icon, is credited with being the father of the Atlanta skyline. And as things go, Simon fell for the Missells' daughter, Caroline Missell, and the two would eventually marry, having two children, Steve and Kathy.
The fact that my mom and dad were very involved in the community at large instilled in us the importance of getting involved to try and make the city that had already done so much for us to help make it better.
From our grandparents and his parents they always told him, you can't do wrong by doing right. And he'll reiterate that, and you can tell that meant a lot to him and how he's lived his life, whether business, socially, civically. It's definitely been the mantra of the family.
Instilled with these guiding principles, it's no surprise that Steve was a dynamic, energizing son, big brother, and student. From his time at Lovett to his graduating high school, Westminster, Steve took the first steps to success, navigated by always doing right.
Say from the very beginning, he was always a leader. He was always well-liked, going back to being captain of the football team, to being president of his class, and he's always been a leader.
After high school, Steve enrolled in the University of Georgia, an institution that not only helped propel him further on his path, but had a special resonance with him. One, for being the much-loved alma mater of his father, and two, because it's UGA. Go Dogs!
Here we're talking about 3 generations that have positively impacted the University of Georgia.
That my dad, as soon as he got into Clark County, he would stop the car, open the windows, take a deep breath and say, the air just smells better here.
They say almost everyone out there bleeds red. He probably bleeds red and black.
After graduating with a degree in business administration in 1965, Steve moved back to Atlanta to contribute to the family property development and management business. But it would be a trip to Israel with his father a few years later that would connect him to his spiritual heritage.
Steve is definitely driven by religion and his faith, and he talks about that very openly. And I think being part of the Jewish community has been certainly very important to him and rewarding to him, and has definitely trickled down to the next generation. And I think his children all feel a sense of belonging to the Jewish community.
Steve has served in a variety of leadership positions within the Jewish community, at the Temple, at the American Jewish Committee, and at the Jewish Federation of Greater Atlanta, where he served as campaign chairman and then as president, and did a spectacular job.
Judaism is about tikkun olam. It's about being responsible for each other. And Steve had a special way of helping the people that he met understand that concept. In fact, as I travel around the United States today, people still quote Steve Selig when he said, it's all about one Jew asking a second Jew to help a third Jew. That's exactly it.
All of this discovery and growth prepared Steve for what would prove to be his most cherished experience, family. As he shaped a successful career, Steve married and had 3 children, Mindy, Scott, and Blake.
I would describe my dad as my hero. He has been probably the biggest champion to myself and to all of us. He kind of has always made me feel like there's nothing I can't do.
He's a mentor, definitely. Yeah, I love the way that you always know where you stand with Dad. If there's a situation and you want an honest answer, he's always going to give it to you, whether it's the answer you want to hear or not.
I think I see him as a leader, and I hate to use the same word as Blake, but I would say a mentor. And he's the busiest guy I know, but he's never not had time to sit down with me when I've asked. So I think that says a lot about him.
As Steve was just beginning life as a husband and father, a new opportunity emerged, building on his civic success in Atlanta, but introducing him to the national stage.
It's a pleasure for me to be back out here.
When the time came to serve in the White House, I needed someone to connect me with the business world. And Steve had that innate knowledge to deal with that entire system wisely and effectively was one of the major needs that I had. And Steve Selig filled that need superbly. And I'll always be grateful to him for that.
This fire for politics and civil service would not extinguish in Steve at the end of Carter's term. It would become a model that he would repeat time and time again. Steve transitioned back to the family business, Selig Enterprises, where he was met with a sudden and unexpected hardship, the death of his father. He stayed strong through a mournful time and stepped up as a new leader of the company. To this day, Selig Enterprises is one of the premier commercial real estate companies in the Southeast.
Steve has contributed to the development of Atlanta in so many ways. He has a legacy of doing that. His grandfather was known as a one-man building boom by our Mayor William Hartsfield. I think Steve has picked up that legacy, and you only need to look down Peachtree to see what he's done.
What he's done downtown in building up 10th Street and 11th Street and 12th Street in the Midtown is just an example of how good he is at business.
Taking the company out of its comfort zone into types of development that we have not really done yet. We started it with Plaza Midtown, but 12th and Midtown was a whole nother dynamic to what our company was used to. So seeing the vision of what the project can become, what it can do for the city, and the trust in the employees that he's hired who have been with him for 20, 30 years, gave him the reassurance and really the go-ahead to say, you know what, I believe in this vision alongside with you, and let's do it. Let's make it happen.
And just like the unpredictability of a shooting star, Steve's life took an unexpected turn. He met his soulmate, Linda.
We pretty much fell in love on the first date. And it was a special magic and a special chemistry that we still feel today. And I always like to say to people that I feel that we're sort of like a hand in a glove. We're just a perfect fit. We love to do the same things. We have the same values in life. And it's made life both exciting and comfortable and rewarding and loving. So
her life really began, I feel like, when she met Steve. And they are just a match made in heaven. And they just complement each other.
Linda is such a creative, dynamic, gorgeous woman, and Steve knows how very lucky he is. They are a power couple.
Linda had 2 children, Stacy and Michael, that added to the richness of family life.
Steve is passionate about many things in his life, and he's accomplished a great deal, but he's the most passionate about his family, and he shows that to us in every possible way, and we know that he is always there for each and every one of us.
He loves everything about his family. He loves his heritage. He loves his children, his grandchildren, and he's so proud of them. And they've been such a joy for his life.
And just like the guidance that Steve received from both of his grandparents, today he's now able to pass his wisdom on to his grandchildren, continuing a powerful and important tradition.
We believe a lot in generation to generation. In Hebrew, it's ledor v'dor. And I think he's a beautiful example of taking the values that were instilled in him as a child and passing them on to his children and grandchildren.
I see him with his children, and there is such fierce pride. He is a man who is buoyed by his family, committed to his family, and madly in love with his family.
Steve is the godfather And there's a reason for it. I mean, it's not just because of his involvement in so many things. It's really also because of his wisdom, good advice, experience, and always willing to help friends and the community. He's been a great role model and a great example for so many people, including myself.
If you look at him over his career, he in fact has kept with that family tradition of doing what's right. And I would agree with him, let the chips fall where they may, but doing what you think is right is always the best course of action.
His future will always be about including those he loves, those he works with, and those he meets along the way. That's the kind of guy he is.
If there was one message I would want Steve to receive from me tonight, it would be that I love him with all my heart, and I'm so thrilled to have shared this journey with him.
Although his journey is far from over, Steve's brilliance continues to mesmerize and inspire. Amazing the things you can achieve by doing right.